I cannot even imagine how a woman could fall to such depths. A story of betrayal that began with a magnificent and unforgettable love. And the ending of this story was truly tragic. Please share your views in comment section about your this experience and subscribe my channel for more interesting stories. Sophie met and fell in love with Adam Carter during her freshman year of college. The first time Sophie saw Adam, she had no idea how much he would change her life. He was the kind of guy who could make everyone laugh, effortlessly charming, with a smile that lit up the room. He had a contagious energy that drew her in, making her feel like she was the only person in the world when he spoke to her. They quickly became inseparable, spending countless hours talking and exploring the quiet corners of campus. It wasn't just the way he made her feel, but his kindness that struck her the most. Whether it was how he treated her friends, his warmth toward strangers, or his passion for his dreams, Adam had a way of making everyone feel valued. Their favorite moments were the long Sunday walks, when the campus was quiet, and they could just talk about everything and nothing at once. They would sneak into empty campus buildings, finding the most secluded spots to share their hopes and dreams. It felt like their own little world, untouched by anything or anyone. Adam's sense of humor kept Sophie laughing, even when she was stressed about her studies. He always knew how to make her feel lighthearted, like nothing could ever go wrong when they were together. Sophie's parents loved Adam from the moment they met him. He was everything they could have hoped for in a partner for their daughter. His sister Rachel, though, often joked, "If he ever breaks up with you, I think we'll miss him more than we'll miss you." But Adam and Sophie's connection felt solid. By the time Adam graduated, he had secured a high-paying job with a prestigious investment firm on the West Coast, a golden opportunity that meant the beginning of a new chapter in both of their lives. Sophie, on the other hand, was determined to finish her teaching degree. She loved working with kids, but the low pay and exhausting hours left her feeling unfulfilled. After graduation, she found a job in a high school in the suburbs. Despite the distance, they tried to make it work. To celebrate their success, Adam took Sophie to a quaint restaurant in Portland. There, he proposed with a stunning ring that had been passed down through his family. The ring sparkled in the soft candlelight as Adam got down on one knee. Sophie, overwhelmed with emotion, said yes, and the applause of nearby diners only made the moment feel more surreal. 10 years later, Sophie was 34 years old, a mother of twins, Noah and Emma, and a high school math teacher. The reality of adult life had set in. She loved her children, adored Adam, but the monotony of her day-to-day life was starting to weigh her down. The long hours teaching math, the never-ending grading, and the unappreciated hard work felt like too much. Despite being grateful for her family, Sophie couldn't ignore the constant feeling of being stuck in a life she no longer found fulfilling. Adam was supportive but often busy with his high-stress job, leaving Sophie to juggle it all. With a bit of encouragement from her college best friend, Mia, Sophie finally decided to make a change. Mia, the free spirit who had always dragged Sophie on spontaneous adventures, was the catalyst. She invited Sophie to be her date for a wedding in Napa Valley, a getaway that Sophie didn't want to turn down. Adam, noticing the fatigue Sophie had been carrying, pushed her to go. "You deserve a break," he told her. Go, enjoy yourself. At the wedding, Sophie saw Mia dancing joyfully with a younger groomsman. Sophie, ever the observer, mingled with a cousin of the bride named Sally. They spoke about the wedding, and Sally casually mentioned the need for a professional event coordinator. The idea sparked something deep inside Sophie. She had always been organized, loved planning, and found joy in making events special for others. The comment was a turning point. By the end of the evening, Sophie knew she had to pursue this new path. Within 6 months, Sophie had started her event management business, Design and Dine Events. Her skills as a teacher, organizing lesson plans and managing schedules, translated perfectly into event planning. Sophie poured her heart into the business, crafting each event with care and attention to detail. Her new venture took off quickly, especially with destination weddings on the beautiful California coast. The weddings she planned were unforgettable, each one meticulously designed and executed with flawless precision. Sophie and Mason's affair had been plagued by guilt, yet their undeniable attraction continued to pull them together. By November, they had resumed their secret meetings, unable to resist the pull they had for each other. One Saturday night, after a late wedding, they took Mason's sleek, black BMW and drove to a secluded chalet overlooking the Pacific coast. "Oh my God, this place is breathtaking," Sophie murmured, curling into Mason's arms. They shared a quiet moment, enjoying the beauty of the night. Sophie had told Adam she was scouting a venue in Monterey and wouldn't be back until Sunday evening, but she didn't mention she'd be with her lover. After checking out of the chalet at 3 p.m., Sophie and Mason walked along the beach, enjoying a peaceful lunch. They stopped in Big Sur for a bottle of wine, and as they continued their drive south, Sophie felt a brief sense of contentment. She believed her business was thriving, her children were happy, and, for the time being, her affair was under control. But in early December, everything began to unravel. Sophie coordinated a wedding at Mason's Hotel in Monterey. Adam, sensing Sophie needed a break from her hectic life, planned a surprise. He booked a room under his name, preparing flowers, her favorite wine, and bath oils, hoping to reconnect with her. Unbeknownst to Sophie, Adam was already at the hotel, waiting for her. After the rehearsal dinner, Adam spotted Mason, but remained hidden, waiting for Sophie to arrive. He overheard Sophie telling Mason, "Not here, please. Wait until we get back to your room." His heart sank as he rounded the corner and saw them together. Sophie screamed as soon as she spotted him. "Adam!" she cried. The realization hit her like a thunderbolt. Mason stepped back, clearly shocked, while Adam, heartbroken and enraged, collapsed to his knees. Sophie's world came crashing down. She tried to console him, but his pain was too much to bear. Adam stood up, anger rising in him. "Number don't speak," he growled. "Take her to your room, Mason. She's all yours now." Sophie tried to reach out to him, but Adam recoiled, shouting, "Don't touch me. You were everything to me, and now you've ruined us. Just go. Go with your stud and leave me alone." Sophie, her heart shattered, couldn't argue anymore. She knew the only sensible choice was to let him go. There was no point in trying to explain, not now. She had broken him, and she had to respect that. She turned to Mason, asking him to leave her alone, and retreated to her room. Lying on her bed, Sophie tried to collect herself. She attempted to call Adam, but her racing heart betrayed her. She was horrified by the mess she had created. Meanwhile, Adam sat at his desk for an hour, struggling to gather his thoughts. He realized he couldn't stay in Monterey. He needed to go home. The weight of betrayal hung heavy on him as he decided to leave early Sunday morning. He packed a few things, wrote a note to Sophie, and left it on the table. "Sophie, I'm going home to the kids. You broke my heart and soul. I need time to think. When you get home, email me first. I'll leave before you arrive. Don't contact me unless I reach out to you. I can't trust you anymore. I loved you with all my heart, but now I hate you for what you've done." Mason found the note on the table when he entered the room, cursing himself for not being more cautious. He felt helpless as he watched Sophie's devastation. He placed the note on her bedside table, stood by her side for a moment, and then left, telling the staff to bring her car around but not to disturb her. At 7 a.m., Sophie awoke exhausted from the emotional turmoil. She washed her face, tears streaming, before noticing Adam's note. She collapsed in despair as she read his words. Bennett, seeing her breakdown, knelt beside her and comforted her. But Sophie knew deep down, their affair was a shared choice. She couldn't blame Mason, not entirely. This was something she had done, and now she had to face the consequences. "I'll go home as soon as I can pull myself together," Sophie said quietly. "I need to face this, Bennett." Bennett, though clearly hurt, replied, "I know, Sophie. You're an amazing woman, but I wish things were different. If I could fix this, I would. But just know I'll always be here for you." Sophie's heart shattered further as she responded, "Thank you, Bennett. I hope this doesn't hurt you, but we may never speak again." Bennett hugged her tightly as a friend, then left, instructing the staff to prepare her car. Sophie, once on the road, texted Adam, "Can we talk when the kids are asleep? It's all my fault, but I hope we can find a way out." Adam replied, "Cinderella, I've already fed the kids. This is our last contact until I reach out to you. Please honor my request." Her heart broke at the mention of Cinderella. She realized with a crushing wave of guilt that the name she once cherished might never pass his lips again. She wasn't his loving wife anymore. She was someone who had deeply betrayed him. That evening, Adam called. Sophie answered quickly, hope filling her chest. "Hi, Rick. I'm glad you called," she whispered. Adam, steady but emotional, replied, "I'll be home around 5 tonight. I'll try to act normal around the kids for a few hours. Then sleep in the spare room. We won't talk until tomorrow morning. Is that okay?" "Yes, Rick," Sophie said quietly. Adam had spent the past few weeks in agony, but by the third night of his business trip, sitting alone on the patio of the Marriott courtyard, he came to a difficult realization. There was a third option, one that would be painful, but might work best for everyone involved. The thought was radical, but he couldn't ignore it anymore. His plan was starting to take shape, and after 2 weeks of contemplation, he knew it was time to confront Sophie. He asked Mrs. Harris, their trusted babysitter, to watch the kids, and then drove Sophie to the park, where they had first discussed her affair. The same picnic table, under the same trees where everything had fallen apart, seemed fitting. As they sat down, the tension between them was palpable. But this was it. He was going to have the conversation that would change everything. Sophie, these past few weeks have been hell for both of us, Adam began, his voice raw with emotion. Thank you for giving me the space to think things through. I need to share my thoughts, and then I want to hear yours. Sophie nodded, her face full of regret, and waited. I don't want to go over everything again, especially that night I saw you with Mason. You know how crushed I am. But what I need to say now is this. I've always been committed to us and our children. I've never cheated, and I can't imagine replacing you in my heart. I thought we'd grow old together, but I was wrong about your commitment to us. Sophie's eyes filled with tears. She could see the hurt in Adam's face, but she couldn't undo the past. Adam, I know I don't deserve a second chance, but I want to work hard to fix this. I want to be with you. Please don't throw us away. Adam turned away, his heart breaking as he processed her words. I know you mean it, Sophie, and I've considered it. On one hand, we might have enough forgiveness to move forward, but on the other hand, I can't trust you. I'd always be wondering if you're meeting someone else. I can't touch you as a husband without seeing the face of the man you chose over me. You wanted him, not me. Sophie's shoulders slumped as Adam's words cut deep. She wanted to promise him that she would be faithful, but she knew she couldn't demand his trust. I want to fight for us, Adam. Aren't we worth fighting for? Sophie asked, her voice desperate for reassurance. The rage Adam had been holding back erupted. Fight for us? What do you think I've been doing? Every single day, working hard, moving up the career ladder, spending time with our kids, trying to make things work, that was all fighting for us. How have you fought for us, Sophie? By being with Mason Davis? You stopped fighting 8 months ago, and now you want me to just accept it and move on? Sophie recoiled at the force of his words. She had no defense. He was right. Tears welled in both of their eyes as Adam took a deep breath. I want to ask you so many questions, but how can I trust you? Maybe you're just sorry because you got caught. I want to go back to sharing our hearts, but that couple no longer exists. You eliminated us with your cheating and lies. The only way forward is for us to find the best solution for everyone. Sophie felt her heart sink. Adam was right. The man she had once loved, the man who had stood by her, was now a stranger. She had betrayed him, and it was too late to change that. I thought our night at the Ritz was a fresh start, after you'd been with Mason. You partied with him, then came home to me, letting me think you were my faithful wife. I must have looked like a fool, happy to hear how proud you were of me. But no more, Adam continued, his voice trembling with emotion. Sophie sat still, unable to argue, as Adam's words echoed in her mind. She had destroyed the love they once shared. Her affair, her infatuation, had ripped their life apart. Adam, are you going to divorce me? She asked, the question hanging in the air between them. No, Sophie, Adam said, his voice steady but cold. I'm not going to divorce you, but I'm not going to stay married to you either. I'm creating a solution that works for everyone. It's going to be painful, and there will be loss, but it's the only solution that makes sense. Sophie's heart raced. What do you mean? You can't just leave me hanging like this. I won't tell you exactly what I'm going to do, Sophie. I've made my decisions. I'm not asking for your opinion because, frankly, I don't trust you to have our best interests at heart. Once you understand what I'm doing, you can make your own choices. But for now, you don't get a say. Adam replied, his tone final. Sophie's mind spun. But how will I know what you're doing? Why can't you just share that with me now? Adam looked at her with calm, painful acceptance. You'll find out when the time comes, he said simply. They talked for a few more minutes, Sophie probing for any hints, but Adam remained firm. He had made up his mind. This was the path he was going to take, and it was already too late to turn back. 2 weeks later, the unthinkable call. 2 weeks and 4 days later, Adam left for his weekly business trip. As he hugged and kissed the kids goodbye, Sophie couldn't shake the sadness in his eyes. It felt like something inside him had died, and nothing would ever be the same. That night, Sophie had a restless sleep, aided by melatonin to fight the insomnia that had plagued her. Rick had suggested she leave the kids with Mrs. Harris for the night to get some rest, and though Sophie agreed, she couldn't shake the unease. When she woke in the morning, the phone was ringing incessantly. "Hello?" she said, trying to pull herself awake. "Is this Sophie Thomas, Richard Thomas's wife?" a professional voice asked on the other end. Sophie's heart skipped a beat. "Yes, that's me. Is everything okay?" "I'm sorry to inform you, Mrs. Thomas, but your husband was involved in an accident on California Highway 79 near Warner Springs. Unfortunately, it was fatal. His body is being transported to the University of California Medical Center in San Diego." Sophie froze. Her mind couldn't process the words. "What? Is he okay? Where is he?" "I'm very sorry, Mrs. Thomas. There's nothing more to be done. I'm so sorry for your loss." Sophie collapsed, her scream echoing through the empty house. This was the moment her world fell apart completely. Sophie sat still, staring at the letter in her hands, her heart heavy with the weight of the past 12 years. Brad, the family lawyer, had just left, his words lingering in the air, and now Sophie was left alone with the letter. A final message from Adam, a man she had betrayed, and yet who still had the power to shatter everything she thought she knew. The words were clear, cold, and unyielding. The truth had been carefully hidden, but now it was laid bare, a legacy of pain and betrayal. "Sophie, you already know I'm gone, and the funeral is over," the letter began. Sophie could barely breathe. "Brad handed you this note, and the kids are with my parents and your mom. They know not to come home for a few hours, because I know this will be difficult for you to process." Sophie's hands shook as she read on. "This is the third option, Sophie, the best I could come up with," the letter continued. "I loved you with all my heart, but now that's gone. You've taken it away. I think this is the best thing I could do for all of us." Adam's words cut deep as she read further. "I bought 3 acres of land by the lake at Eagle's Nest. It was supposed to be a surprise for you and the kids, a place to build memories, a fresh start. But I had to lie to you about why I was on Highway 79 when the accident happened. The real reason was that I was rushing back because I had a meeting. But it's better this way. Don't worry. Brad will handle things. If you stick to the story, the insurance companies won't find anything suspicious. They won't dig deep enough." Sophie felt the tears well up, but she couldn't look away from the page. Adam was gone, but his presence was suffocating, as if he were still controlling every part of her life. "As far as insurance goes, I changed my will recently," Adam wrote. 90% of my wealth will go into a trust for the kids. they'll be able to go to college, graduate school, and live comfortably. The rest will go to them when they turn 30. You'll receive 10%, about $300,000, to help you take care of the kids while you grieve and try to rebuild your life. Sophie dropped her head into her hands, overwhelmed by the bitter irony of it all. I couldn't divorce you, Adam had written. I couldn't do that to our children. Divorce would hurt them more than this. They can grieve my loss, but at least they won't bear the burden of rejection. The letter went on with more details. How Adam had always put the kids first. How he had tried to protect them even after everything had fallen apart. And then his final request. Please burn this note when you've read it, he wrote. If the insurance companies find it, everything I've left for the kids will be destroyed. You don't deserve to have it, but they do. Please burn this note. Sophie sat frozen for what felt like an eternity. The words hit her like a truck, and the weight of her betrayal, her selfishness, suffocated her. How had everything gone so wrong? She read the letter 2 more times, each time sinking deeper into despair. When she finally walked over to the fireplace, she burned the note until it was reduced to nothing but ashes. She thought she might feel relief, but instead, the emptiness consumed her. 12 years later, the legacy of lies. It had been 12 years since Adam had died, but in many ways, he had died the moment he caught her in the arms of another man. His death had been a culmination of his trust being shattered, a betrayal that not only ended their marriage, but destroyed everything they had built together. Sophie never remarried. She kept the truth about Adam's end of life a secret from their children. She followed his wishes, using the $300,000 to support the family while they grieved. It took her more than a year to return to work, and even then, her career in event planning, especially weddings, felt like a hollow pursuit. She never found anyone like Adam, someone who had once loved her so fully, only to be betrayed in the worst way possible. She dated occasionally, but nothing ever felt right. She began to see herself as damaged goods, haunted by the choices she had made. Counseling helped, but the guilt never fully left. She wondered, if she did marry again, would she betray that person too? Could she ever be trusted? Her children, Michael and Sarah, encouraged her to find happiness. Dad would want you to be happy, Mom, they told her. But Sophie knew the truth. Adam had wanted her happiness, but not at the expense of his love, his trust. Months later, Brad Stanton, the family lawyer, appeared on her doorstep again. This time, it wasn't just a casual visit. It's been months, Sophie said with a strained smile as she greeted him. I'm so happy to see you. But Brad's tone was different this time. Formal, distant. Thank you, Sophie. May I come in and talk with you? As they sat down, Brad began. As you know, today would have been Adam's 45th birthday. I didn't expect you to remember, but I need to tell you something important. Before he died, Adam made a request, a final decision, and he wanted me to honor it. Sophie's heart skipped. She had forgotten today was Adam's birthday, but this was no coincidence. Before he passed, he wrote me a long note. He never gave it to me until today. This morning I received a couriered envelope with a 12-page letter from him. Brad continued. I've read it, and it's something you need to know. Sophie felt the air leave her lungs. What more could Adam have left for her? Brad continued, Adam wanted me to deliver it to you. In this letter, he finally explained everything: the affair, the lies, and how he had to protect his children from the truth. As Brad spoke, Sophie's world began to unravel again. She had thought that after all these years, the truth had been buried. But Adam had planned for this moment, even in death. The letter she opened was a final act of closure, revealing everything that had been hidden for so long. Adam had known all along that his death wasn't just a result of the accident. It was the culmination of his broken heart. And as for Sophie, her life and the children's future, it would never be the same. This final part ties up the story with emotional depth, showing Sophie's journey of guilt, loss, and realization of the consequences of her actions. The fallout from the affair, Adam's last wish, and the repercussions on her life are all encapsulated in this tense and emotional conclusion.